The housing market in 2022 was kind of like going on the scariest roller coaster, the most thrilling roller coaster, and getting a root canal all at the same time. Home prices, inventory, mortgage rates, and inflation will all look different this year. I'm going to go over my predictions on what I think is going to happen in 2023 based on what I'm seeing in the local market and the data I'm getting from the national market. And then you can decide whether this is the year that you either buy or sell a home. Now, the first order of business is to stop listening to the news. Now, it is a very well-known fact that the news typically will sensationalize to get more viewers, whether you're on the local news station, on the national news, or on YouTube. Titles that grab you will sell. So they're always going to gravitate towards the worst case scenario. But the real factor is that the news usually uses data that's 2 to 3 months old. They're not looking at the current situation, and they're also typically looking at a national situation, not a local situation. Yes, some areas of the country are not going to fare well this coming year, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to impact our local area. So it's really important that when you're listening to the news or family or friends, that you consider the source. Where are they getting their information from? And does it apply to your particular situation in your area? So first off, let's talk about home sales. How many homes do we think will sell in 2023? Now, across the board, we are expecting to see a decrease in the number of homes that will be sold in 2023. The National Association of Realtors is anticipating around 4.7 million homes in the country to be sold compared to the 5.2 million that were sold in 2022. And this is largely impacted by home affordability. Interest rates have risen over the last 6 months, which has put downward pressure on the home affordability. You have less home affordability, you have fewer home buyers. You have fewer home buyers, and you have fewer sales. Now, because the first-time home buyer is the one that is impacted the most with home affordability, and first-time home buyers is the largest market segment that are buying homes these days, that is one of the contributing factors to that downward pressure in the number of sales. Now, the thing that could change that would be downward pressure on the interest rates. If we see the interest rates go down this year considerably, then we're going to see a rise in home affordability, and that will push sales up. But the outlook for interest rates does not look significant. I'm going to cover that a little bit later in this video. Now, let's talk about home prices in 2023. And to be honest, more people are concerned about what their home is worth versus how many homes are selling in their neighborhood. Yes, one offsets the other, but at the end of the day, people just want to know, home sellers just want to know what is the value and how is it going to be affected, and how much money are they going to get for that property to go into another property. Now, last year, we came out of the gates gangbusters and starting the year strong and really had a banner first 6 months with a roughly around 15% appreciation. But mid-year is where we saw those interest rates starting to put downward pressure on the home prices. And July, August, we started to see those prices softening. By the end of last year, we came out at about 5% lower than we started. We still ended up with good appreciation, 9%, 10%, depending on your area, depending on your price range. But we were still, well in that high appreciation area, much higher than what is normal. A typical normal average market, we see about 4% appreciation, 4.5%. If we look over the last 50 years, that's what the average is. So when we're looking at 10%, 12%, 15%, that is absolutely abnormal, and even a drop from 15 to 10% is we're still way higher than what the norm is. That being said, heading into this year, we're going to see definitely a softening. I do not think we're going to be in negative. I don't think we're going to be lower than where we are right now. Home sellers should see more appreciation. We're just not going to see that 5%, 10%, 20% craziness that has been happening over the last couple of years. So if we look at the forecast for some of the major players in the real estate industry, Fannie Mae, Mortgage Bankers Association, Freddie Mac, Realtor.com, National Association of Realtors, they are all coming in a little different, with Realtor.com coming in at a 5.4% appreciation, Zelman coming in at a 5.1% depreciation. If we average all of those, we're still coming out at about 0.1%. We're looking still at appreciation. Now, this is a national average. And for those that are watching this that are looking to buy in the Plymouth County area, for sure, I'm expecting to be higher. The Northeast, Massachusetts, Boston area, South Coast, we always fare better. We fared better last year, and we will fare better this year than the national average. Because of the industry, because of the reason people come into this area, the prices are going to be a lot more stable than some of those harder hit areas. The places that exploded, Texas, Arizona, Florida, where prices went absolutely bonkers, they're going to be hit the hardest. Our prices are stable. I personally think we're going to be probably in the 3 to 4% area appreciation, again, which is more normal, but certainly not the crash that everyone is, predicting on YouTube in terms of prices dropping out. The data just doesn't support it. Now let's talk about inventory. And if you're thinking about buying a house, that is probably one of the first questions you'll ask is, what is the inventory going to look like? Am I going to have choices? Am I going to have more things to choose from and look at versus the last couple of years? Last couple of years, our inventory was at historic lows, and it was extremely hard. That is one of the things that drove the intensity of the market. Too many buyers looking at one property. And the short answer is no, it's going to change. So we're going to see a gradual increase in that inventory. But what's super important is to know that that inventory is not going to grow overnight. One of the things that will contribute to a market crash is if we have a large increase, a very fast increase in inventory, homes that just stop selling, buyer demand completely falls off, then all of a sudden we've got a backlog of sellers, and those sellers start dropping those prices significantly. This is one of the reasons why we're not going to have a significant crash, why the prices aren't going to drop, significantly, is because the inventory is still not going to be up to where it needs to be to have a balanced market. One of those reasons is because homeowners that have purchased a home that have refinanced over the last 2 years, because the interest rates went up, they're not going to be jumping to sell their home. If you're in a home, then you have a 2.5%, 3.5% interest rate, and you're thinking about selling and buying another home, and your only option is to get into a 6%, 6.5% interest rate. Those home sellers might decide not to do that right now because financially it doesn't make any sense. They don't want to lose that low interest rate. Now, what we will see with the inventory is more of a seasonal market. I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, that as the market softened, as those interest rates went up, we started to see more seasonality return to the market. We saw this over the holidays, where typically we'll slow down right around mid-November and stay kind of on the slower side, less inventory, less buyer traffic until after the first of the year. And we absolutely saw that. And now I'm starting to see second week in January, more phone calls, more people that are interested, starting to talk about starting the process again and the getting back into the market. Now, generally, we see an increase in inventory in the spring. Right around the middle of February, people start getting their homes on the market, and that inventory will slowly start to build up until we get to March. Mid-March, late March is really where things get ramped up. More inventory comes on the market, more buyers come on the market. Now, because more buyers come on the market, that's going to increase the sale price. Now, I just want to mention that home prices don't increase on a straight line. We don't have a 4%, 5%, 3% increase across the board. It's more peaks and valleys, with the biggest peak coming in the spring. We always see, as more homes come on the market, as we have increased demand, we're going to have the highest level of appreciation during the spring. It lowers and levels out during the summer. We might even see a little bit of a drop in prices, slight drop in prices over the summer, and then we have a little surge in the fall, and then it really levels out in the winter. So when they're talking, 1%, 2%, 5% over the course of the year, it's just the average of all of those seasons. And we haven't had those seasons over the last 2 years, but we're expecting that to return. Now, the one thing that could stir a lot more inventory is if those interest rates come down dramatically. Not expecting that to happen, but if that happens, we could see a surge in inventory. Now, what we will see more of is longer market times. We started to see this 3-4 months ago, homes staying on the market a little bit longer. That is largely due to the fact that the sellers are not pricing their property properly. And if the property is not priced properly to the current market conditions, then you're going to see a property that's hanging out on the market for 3 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Super important to look at what the median days on market is for the price range that you're looking in to see how that matches up for what you're looking at. If you're looking in price ranges where it typically right now is taking about 30 days to get an offer, and you have a property that's new to the market or it's only been on the market for a couple weeks, the chances are there's not going to be a whole lot, potentially not going to be a whole lot of wiggle room with that buyer, that seller rather. But if you have a property that is, the average market time is 3 weeks and it's been on the market for 6 weeks, that is a red flag all day long that the property is overpriced, and that is a great opportunity for making a lower offer. Now, last but not least, mortgage interest rates. What the heck is going to happen in 2023 with mortgage interest rates? Now, last year, I had predicted that we would probably top off around 5%. And that was before inflation, the war in Ukraine, oil prices. It was just a mess. And we all know, if you've been watching the market, what happened with those interest rates as they spiked to 20-year highs. Nobody was expecting it. Nobody was anticipating that they would go up that fast. Not so much the amount that they went up. 7% is actually, if we looked at 50 years, the average is roughly around 7% for the total of 50 years. However, it's not the interest rate that was the issue. It was the speed at which the interest rate went up. And people were just white-knuckling their transactions. A lot of transactions fell apart. Thankfully, all the indicators are showing us that the worst is behind us. We're going to see a gradual decrease over the course of 2023. Nothing drastic. We're roughly in the 6s right now. We may end up in the low 6s, maybe in the 5%, high 5s by the end of the year, but nothing drastic. It's really going to depend on what happens with inflation. As inflation decreases, we should see a gradual decrease in that interest rate. What we will see are trends like mortgage buydowns paid by the seller or the buyer, adjustable rate mortgages, things to get that interest rate down temporarily until they adjust further. According to the latest predictions by Lawrence Yun, who is the chief economist at the National Association of Realtors, he is anticipating that we will, by 2024, be much lower. Things will really settle down by at that point, and we could potentially be down into the 4s, by the time we get to that point. So the outlook for 2023 is looking very calm. Calm seas, no more roller coasters, no more root canals at the dentist. We're looking at calmer seas, more of a seasonal, more normal market. But if you're looking for more information, if you're thinking about buying a home in 2023, make sure you check out my video on what you need to know before buying a house in 2023. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.